Portal Master Studios, and today we are talking about the candle piece. It has been around for over 2 years now, and it has been used everywhere, not just for candles, but blasters, the Monkey Kid staff, almost everything. And today we're going to look into whether or not this piece is a good piece for candles, and also, is it a good piece in general? So I'm going to hand it over to Dragon here.
I think I'm going to preface this with one sort of thing. Lego is very smart. They're very smart about what they do. They try not to waste pieces, and making molds for new pieces is expensive. That's why we don't see a lot of printed pieces, because printing stuff is like an entire machine that you have to manufacture for one thing, right? So that's costly as a business. It is smart to not make pieces that are only useful for one thing. And I've seen Lego use the metal beard piece, which you would think would be used in nothing except the minifigure. But it was used in, where was it? It was used in another set. I saw it. And then you see them use pieces that you thought, there is no way this can be used in something that it was not originally intended for. But that is Lego's purpose. Unless it's like a specific collectible for Lego, like the Atlantis keys. I've never seen those in anything else.
Which is good, I think.
But most of the time, yeah, that's good because it adds rarity and it adds that collectability. But most of the time when Lego makes new pieces, they don't think about the singular use that it's used for. They think about what it is looked like, or rather what it can be used for. So I don't think this candle piece is just for candles. And I'll drop it back to Portal.
I agree. I want to bounce off of what you're saying and use one of my favorite piece usages ever, which is the Minecraft wolf head was used as architecture for the police station, which I think is just incredible. Like you're saying, they think ahead with these kinds of things. So I think what we should talk about first is the candle piece good at what it's called? Is it a good candle? Because I personally don't like it. I think the old techniques for candles were a lot better. I think I think it's a limitation of the size, but I think it's too thick and it's too tall and it's too big for a minifigure to hold. But what do you think?
Yeah, I think definitely because a lot of the candles, or at least torches that I'm used to, are only slightly bigger because we have the one by one weird I want to say table-like piece that you would flip it over, you put a flame piece in there, and that would be the candle. Or even this just straight up one by one cylinders look better as candles than these ones do. And I agree with Portal. It's too long and it doesn't really fit with the way that it looks. And I think one of the good examples of a lot of candles is one of the most recent Lego Hogwarts, where you saw quite a few of them. And I remember when we were building, they just looked out of place. But I mean, on the
They
contrast,
really don't fit.
yeah, they don't fit very well. But on the contrast, how they fit in other things is pretty good. I'm going to drop that to Portal.
Yes, so the first one we're going to look at is a gun extension, which on the Star Wars blasters, they've actually put these on at the end in black, and they become silencers or extenders for the guns. And I think these look really good. They flawlessly join with it because the thickness of the candle is the same thickness they're using on those guns, and the minifigure can hold it. In the stop motions, you can take it off and put it back on like you're customizing the gun. And I think that's a really good use.
And obviously, this is a Portal Master Studios videos with Dragon in it, so it's time to do the segment that I'm obligated to do, which is compliment Monkey Kid over the amounts of time. Monkey Kid has had 4 to 5 different staff sizes for his staff, which makes sense thematically. I don't know how many of you have actually seen what the mythology that he's based off is, but the staff grows and shrinks in sizes. And these candle pieces make one of the best versions of his staff for animation because it allows you to make that shrinking and extension because you have a consistent thing. So when you're animating, you have a consistent distance that it can be increasing or decreasing with, and it's the very flush. It looks nice, and I think we're actually going to have an animation with this technique in it, and it just looks so nice. You got there's plenty of other things. I'm going to let Portal talk about the next one.
There is so many. Now I'm going to look at a specific set. We're going to talk about the Sesame Street set. And in this set, it was actually used as a kind of way to hold up a smokestack, or not a smokestack, a chimney. And what they used it for is a thinner thing than the thicker cylinder we were talking about before, and it is very fluid. The way these things connect is absolutely amazing. Also, later in this set, they use it for a very thin lamppost. Instead of using those cylinders, which are not only thicker, but when you stack a bunch, they're weaker, they used this piece, they stuck a bunch together, and it is a very strong connection. And it was this very thin lamp, which I think did a really good job. And I think the thinness and the strong connection is something to talk about here.
Yeah, and I would say, even design-wise, a lot of Lego bricks fit a specific niche. We can go broad with just standard bricks, where it's like, okay, most of the time you're only going to have one brick that is a 1x2. And if it has a specific purpose it's going to fulfill, they'll make another one. And this brick fit one of those niches that had not been done before. I don't think there is another piece that is a flush minifigure rod connector female part with a male part on the end. A sort of, basically, I think the term is an endless loop piece, where you can keep stacking it on itself and it'll be able to connect into infinity. We didn't have, I don't even think we had pieces before that were like this, where we could have those rods that would stack without a different kind of piece. But now we do, because, as Portal said, it's just so slick. And the amount of minifigure accessories that are that bar allow it to just transfer and make so many different things. And I'm going to drop back to Portal.
I totally agree. And I think that's a lot of the big set uses. But in terms of mocks, I think this just lets the mind wander. I mean, you could look at like those big power lines. You could use these in light gray and connect them endlessly for long power lines. They would make great legs on a table. Actually, they have made great legs on a table in sets. And I think just in general, the minifigure customization, the house customization, imagine making pipes out of these things. It's just endless. You can make a really good what is the pipe piano called?
Oregon?
And yes, in Oregon. That's the one with all the pipes and stuff. That would
Yeah, the
look
ones you see
amazing
in
with
like
this
big
piece. I
churches
think
and
it's
that stuff.
perfect for it.
Yeah, because
Yes, I think that would be amazing.
the closest thing we have to something that is this seamlessly connected is the Technic circle pieces. But the problem with those is they're not friction fit. They're snap fit using the Technic connectors. First of all, you have to have two different pieces to connect them. Second of all, they also have this small slit in the side, which is, of course, obvious in case those pieces get stuck. You need to have a way to pop them out, which I think I've heard people have to do it that way before. But with this one, since it's a male to female, instead of either a female and a male to male, this is trust me, it's a technical way of saying the different types of adapters.
It's an interesting way to say it, that's for sure.
It's the way I have always had it referred to in like auto tech and that type stuff. But the fact that it's
Well, there you go.
the opposite ends allows it to, first of all, be seamless, that you could have, as Portal said, 100 of these and you wouldn't have to get other pieces. You could bulk order them. And second of all, it's just so seamless. Even when they're put together, it's hard to tell that they're there if you do it right.
I totally agree. And in terms of bulk ordering, I hope this piece gets put onto the Pick a Brick wall or somewhere where we can just get a mass amount onto the market. Because for now, it's still a new piece. It's in year 2. So obviously, it's still somewhat limited. But I think the uses for this have already just went everywhere. And I really think there's something to be said. I would argue that as a candle, this is horrible. But as a piece, it's one of the best pieces they've added this year, in the last 2 years.
Yeah. Because there's a couple of pieces like this every year that you can't imagine Lego without. Like, imagine Lego without the Mixel ball joints. It's just impossible because they've become such a useful staple of the line that connected Bionicle and the normal Lego system in ways that were previously undone. I mean, sure, you had the ball joint connectors, but they couldn't really support their own weight, whereas these smaller ones were much better for that, and they sort of conveyed their limitations a little bit more. Think about Lego without, what's another one that they did? I mean, sideways adapters. There's so many different
Sideways adapters, yeah.
ways with the 90-degree angles. Like, I remember when it was just the 1x2 that had a 90-degree 2x2 plate. That was like the extent that they had. And now there's a adjuster for almost any shape and size. And
What
I
about the
can't
brick
imagine
separator?
Oh, the brick
Another
separator
one.
too. There's so many pieces like that. But I mean, sure, there's plenty of pieces that are just like one-offs or very specific in use that they can't be used that often. Like, as I said, Metalbeard's beard. It had a pretty specific purpose. And so Lego doesn't have, I think Lego has a certain amount of pieces they can make each year just because of the way that Lego works.
Every theme does.
Every theme has
Yes.
a limited amount. So these designers, when they make these new pieces, have to make them count. And I mean, sometimes you get a piece that looks so un-Lego, but after a while, it just makes sense. Like, I remember the first time I saw spring-loaded shooters. I was like, what the heck is this? I've never seen a Lego that looks like this. And I think I saw it on like a Star Wars set. I'm like, what did they do? Because I was so used to flick missiles and stud shooters. But then these things came out, and they make so much sense because they're good play features, and they're not hard play features, and they work well. And I think that's just such a staple of like specific Lego pieces is that they can work well if done right. And I think the candle piece is one of those pieces that was done right.
I agree. I think this piece, like those other pieces, will go down in history as a piece that's essential to LEGO in the next decade. I'd also like to talk about how this piece interacts with what I'd consider to be decently new pieces, which is the 1x1 stud with a hole in it and the 1x1 stud with the male piece popping out. Because
Yeah,
this interacts perfectly with those two pieces.
that's what I was thinking
Yeah,
about
you
because
go.
that allows you that conversion. It gives it a little bit of extension. Like, I mean, even as a candle piece, the fact that it can be picked up by a minifigure, but then put down on a stud, and then all these sorts of ways that it can be extended is just wonderful.
I agree. Anything that's a minifigure accessory that is also really great for mock building, I feel like is an exceptional piece, and this definitely fits that mold. I really do love how it interacts with everything, especially those newer pieces that are about almost a decade old now, but it really allows it to connect with the Lego environment, and it's just a phenomenal piece. This has been the Portal Pod. We will see you guys next week with a longer episode. Stay tuned.